Hey everyone, it's Rochelle, the Right Now Coach, and this is another episode of Always Right. I wanted to get on today and talk about how to write when the world is on fire. So, in our current environment, it's hard enough to write. Our attention span in the last 5 years has shrunk from about 2 minutes to 47 seconds. So we're already struggling to pay attention. Our phones train us to look for the next dopamine hit. And if you're a news follower in the United States right now, you know that you're getting dopamine hits every few minutes. You can go on to any news site and it's as if someone's running around and saying the sky is falling. And it might very well be falling. I don't know. So it's tempting to spend every minute scouring the news, listening to the pundits, seeking signs of hope, trying to figure out what to do. What's my path? How do I move forward? And it's hard to believe that taking time to write your story or create your poem or make art is going to matter in the scheme of things. But your words matter immensely. When I researched my book, I can never remember which site it's on, Mightier Than the Sword, I found out that so many people use writing and art to change the world, to create reform, to rebel, to help spur revolutions. So, in the most difficult times, people took time out to write. So I wanted to talk about like how do you do it? How do you find a way to write when the world is on fire? So let me give you a few tips. The first is to find your part and do it. So when firefighters come to put out a fire, they don't all hold the hose. They each have their own jobs. So we each need to find our own part of putting out the fire. We want to make a difference. We feel incredibly powerless to kind of affect the whole. So we need to think about what is the small piece that we can do. For many of us, it's simply going to be calling your senators, calling your representatives in Congress, letting them know what matters to you. For others of us, it's going to be working on a community project. So, what can you make a difference in your community? How can you affect the world? I mean, it might just be shifting your purchasing power so that you're buying local instead of spending your money on the larger big box stores. So when I look back at the people that I wrote about in Mightier Than the Sword, they did lots of kind of concrete things to support resistance and rebellion. So Audre Lorde was wanting to advocate for women, people of color, and LGBTQIA folks. And so she started a publishing house, Kitchen Table, Women of Color Press, to help elevate their voices. Um, Zora Neale Hurston was disappointed with how her colleagues in the Harlem Renaissance depicted the lives of Black people. And she felt like the stories of her ancestors where she grew up were getting lost. And so she went home and recorded those stories. She interviewed people and got those stories. Activist Lucy Stone and her husband Henry Blackwell published a feminist newspaper, the Women's Journal. Frederick Douglass published an abolitionist newspaper around like before the Civil War and during the Civil War to kind of promote the end of slavery. So think about what your part is and make a decision of what you're going to do and then do it. So the next thing that you want to do is find your why. Figure out what your writing why is. What is it that you want to write for the people that you want to serve? Usually your sweet spot will be kind of at the intersection of the people you want to serve and the specific knowledge that you have. So think about what is that area and what can you share? And then once you know your why, then choose a project that's going to help you put that why into action. So if your why is to entertain and distract people, then think about what project is going to help you do that. Or if your why is to educate people on what they can do in a time like this, then figure out what kind of project will help them do it. Maybe your goal is to help people cook more locally or cook more seasonally so that they're not getting things that are shipped from other countries. So just think about what is your project, and make a decision. Then once you know your why and you know your project, it's important to create a writing bubble around your time. So whether you can, carve out time at your best time of day, or you've got to find that pocket of time when the kids are asleep and you're not working and, everything is quiet, find that writing time and then create a bubble around it. So you almost have to treat yourself like a napping child. And you know what it's like if you've got like a little one who needs to nap, you kind of create a bubble around them so they can have that quiet space. So, you make everybody be quiet, you turn off all the noisy things, you put on some soft music and you shut their door and you give them that little bubbled space. So you need to do that for yourself as a writer. So that means finding a little cushion when you can be offline. So you're not having your brain like, what's going on? What's going on? What do I need to know? So getting a little disconnected from the news. If you need to, you can get an internet blocker. If you don't want to use an internet blocker, you can just kind of go offline and write, either on a dedicated piece word processor or just on an old-fashioned pen and paper. But get that writing bubble. Hide your phone while you're working. Research shows that even if our phone is in the room, we tend to be a little bit distracted. So do what you need to do to create that writing bubble so that you are able to focus. And then take that time. Take that 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, take it and work every day on your project. And the next thing I would say is find your lens. You have your own particular point of view that you want to share. So find your lens, figure out what you want to say, and be really faithful to what you need to say. So I'm going to be talking about this more and more. I'm going to be offering some classes on how to focus when the world is on fire, because I think we're in a time, not just because of the news, but because of how social media and our phones are training our brains to be distracted. So I think we're in a time when it's really hard to focus. And we almost have to treat it ourselves like we're training for a marathon. So if you were going to run a marathon, you wouldn't expect yourself to just be able to get up one day and run 26.2 miles. But so we need to do that same kind of training for writing. So you wouldn't expect yourself just to be able to go from not writing every day to writing a book, or not writing every day to kind of publishing a daily newsletter. So you need to kind of train yourself. So start small, do a little bit of writing every day, see how that goes. And you can maybe increase your writing, maybe increase the amount you're writing, increase the days you're writing, and see how it goes. If you have any questions about this, feel free to put them in the comments below, or you can reach out to me through my website, writenowcoach.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, and remember to always write.